From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
Back in the podcast studio in Raytown, Missouri, after the big fundraiser on a rainy night in Blue Springs. Good to know that we're back in the dry confines of the podcast studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with a working furnace. My furnace went out this week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but we got it fixed.
It's not a bad day for that. This weekend, though, you're going to want the furnace.
Yes.
Yeah. No question about that. So I'm Dale Carter. He's Kurt Wheeler, in case you don't know who we are. And this is Dale Carter's America. The podcast is brought to you in part by my good friend Bob Watson, Blue Springs State Farm agent for over 50 years. You can find Bobby at 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, he does it all. Bundle your home and car insurance to save even more money. You know State Farm, that's the brand. That's the gold standard of insurance in this country. And he is the best State Farm agent in the metro area. He's been at it for 51 years, licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. Like a good neighbor, Bob Watson and State Farm is there. We have a lot of ways that you can help us spread the word and make sure that you get every episode by subscribing. I've noticed that you are putting subscribe on all the clips.
Yeah.
It's funny, I talked to a guy at an event I was at over the weekend, and he said, there's about 4 podcasts I follow, but I check out all the clips that you put up on Facebook. I'm like, why don't you just, subscribe so you get it all?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How do they do that?
Well, it's very easy. You can go to youtube.com in your web browser, search for Dale Carter's America, and then when you see the button that says subscribe, you click on that button. That's how you do it.
Is that it? Is that easy?
It's that easy, Dale.
Damn, even I could do that.
Even you could do it. That's right.
Wow. So you like my shirt? I mean, I've washed it since, but I wore it at the fundraiser.
Yes.
And I wore it for a reason. Because you put up some clips that showed me in the shirt, and I had one guy reach out to me. He says, well, I was going to vote for you till I saw that shirt. Really?
What's that about?
I don't know. I mean, you tell me. I mean, you know more about Charlie Kirk than I did. Here's what I know about Charlie Kirk. He went to college campuses. If people disagreed with him, he had them come sit in front of him. They had a civil discussion. Charlie stood his ground. I know there are clips out there that you could take out of context and make him seem like an asshole, but I think for the most part, he was very polite to people he disagreed with.
Yeah, that certainly seems to be the consensus. He was, I think, pretty moderate on a lot of issues too.
Yeah. So somebody really disagreed with him and shot him in the neck and killed him.
Yeah.
I wore the shirt because, my youngest son, who's 31, basically the same age Charlie Kirk was, who was really moved by it. I had no idea he even followed stuff like that. So that's why I got the shirt. And I'm finding that it's triggering people. I wore my jacket at work today because there are people that who would have looked at this shirt and went, oh, God, I can't believe you're wearing that.
Yeah.
Is that so crazy? Silly. These are the times we live in.
It's like you're wearing a Nazi armband or something.
No kidding. First they told us that make America great again. Well, we can't say that.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, the humanity. We just want to make the country great, right? We can't say MAGA.
America was never great, Dale.
Yeah, that's it. We have a terrible history. And now they're triggered by the word freedom. And there are some places where they don't want you to show the American flag because that's triggering.
Yeah.
Aren't there some things that we ought to all agree on? That freedom is good? That making America a better place ought to be the goal all of the time?
Yeah. And it also just shows that you can't dictate how you act based on how people are going to respond to it. You know what I mean? Because people will get triggered by anything. So are you going to be controlled by people who are constantly moving the goalpost as to what offends them? You know what I mean? Or are you just going to be yourself and just let
I am being myself
where they may? And
I'm wearing, and I assume you're going to take clips from today's episode and you're going to put those up and they're going to be, damn, does he never do laundry? I mean, is that what, but I assume people are going to be triggered by that as well. But no, you're right. I'm going to be me and this is who I am. And I believe in freedom. I was going to speak to the We the People organization. That was on my list of things to do, but I got bumped for some of the Turning Point people who were speaking that night. And I'm going to go back in the spring and we'll do it again. But I was going to talk about We the People. That's the first words of the Constitution of the United States. You know what comes next? In order
to form a more perfect union.
See, you
establish justice, secure domestic tranquility.
Schoolhouse Rock. Aren't you young for Schoolhouse Rock?
A little bit, but we watched it in school. Yeah.
But in order to form a more perfect union, we were never perfect. We will never be perfect, but we strive to be perfect. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And certainly that ties into what's going on in Jackson County. And it seems like I'm going to have an update every time we talk about this, because I am running for the 5th District of Jackson County, if you've been living under a rock here. And there have been seismic shifts in the county that have already taken place. You can tick them off through a recall effort of signatures. 40,000 people in the county turned in signatures. And Frank White tried every delaying tactic that he could, but finally it went to a vote of the people, and more than 80%, even counting the Kansas City voters, 80% voted to throw him out. The next step in that was on Tuesday, and that was putting on the ballot, changing the charter of the county, that we would join the rest of the counties in the state of Missouri and have an elected assessor. Property assessment, obviously, is the big issue going on here. And 88% of the vote went for an elected assessor position. Mm-hmm. That's pretty clear cut.
Pretty clear cut, yeah.
Even though the language on the ballot was kind of wonky. Did you vote?
I didn't know.
Yeah. I don't even know if you had anything on your ballot. Some places like Liberty, they didn't even really have anything on the ballot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the ballot language was, shall Jackson County stop having a qualified appointed assessor and have an elected assessor? It's kind of like some dirtbag politician running over here versus a qualified appointed assessor. Yeah. So
I just saw this. So this is the headline from KCUR, which is like normal. Jackson County voters choose to elect an assessor after years of property tax hikes. And then this from the Kansas City Star. This is the headline. Jackson County's assessor will be elected after a landslide vote fueled by tax fury.
Well, I think that's probably accurate. Yeah. I think people were pissed. There's no way to, and now a guy who's been a guest on our podcast several times, Phil Lavoda, and he will be a guest again. He committed to come back on and talk about things. I'm letting the dust settle because it seems like he's got a press conference every day on the next thing he's doing. Yeah. So the current assessor, Gail something Beatty or Beatty, I don't know. You probably have that in there. I should have that in my memory, but I don't. I've seen her picture out there. Gail,
I'll find it.
Something or other. Anyway, so Lavoda.
Gail McCann.
Yeah, Gail Beatty McCann.
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah. So Lavoda waited until the vote, right? She's been hanging by a string. He waited for the vote, and he's a smart guy. He is, I've heard him described this by Republicans. Lavoda's a Democrat. I've heard him described this way by Republicans who are friends of mine, that he is the best executive this county has ever had because he's getting shit done, right? So he waits for the vote, and then he gives her a choice. It's kind of like, you put the gun in the room and you leave. It's like you got a choice. You can either resign or you're going to be fired. Well, she was going to fight it, so he fired her. So boom, that's done. And then he says he's going to abide by the state tax commission rule that if you got more than a 15% assessment, you're going to get a rebate. So that's getting fixed. A lot of things are getting fixed before I get there, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'll just go into a calmer Jackson County. It's been kind of a firestorm, but I'll hold up my end once I get there.
Good old Phil is kicking ass and taking names.
Seriously, he's kicking ass and taking names. I'm rooting for him. So when you think, people reach out to me on our Facebook page all the time. Oh, you're a butt sniffer of Trump and blah 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 blah. Somebody said something along those lines today.
Butt sniffer, huh? That's a new one.
I will remind you that Phil Lavoda is a guy that I have a lot of respect for. Are we going to agree on everything? We're not. I don't agree with Kurt on everything. I don't agree with my wife on everything. Okay. If you find somebody you agree with 100% of the time, one of you is irrelevant.
Yes.
There needs to be a little bit of conflict going on.
Yeah.
Don't look at me like that. So, my point is, you should be able to have a civil discussion with somebody that you disagree with. And there's the old phrase, well, we're going to agree to disagree, but we're not going to do it disagreeably. I don't have to call you every name in the book in order to get that done. I can still disagree. So that's the deal on Jackson County. My website is up if you want to check out my thoughts on things politically that go beyond this podcast, and maybe join the team there for the run, which is coming up next November. So a little less than a year from right now, filing coming up in February. If there is an opponent on the Republican side, that primary would be in August, and then the general election will be in November. DaleCarter.us. That is the website. Check me out, and we're going to have a lot of events coming up. Can't wait to get out and see some folks. I had a chance to talk to Mike Todd, who is the mayor of Grain Valley. We're going to do something in Grain Valley coming up. Of course, Buckner, Tony Miles, and those guys up there, fantastic people. I need to get out to Oak Grove.
Tremendous people.
And, of course, Blue Springs is where I operate out of, because that's home. That's where Casa del Carter can be found. Christian Brothers Automotive, they are in Independence. Actually, they have several locations, but my buddy Tim Porter, his location is at 19600 East 40 Highway. So it is just to the east of 470 or 291, whatever you call it, in that area on 40 Highway, and then you just go east, and he's in that middle ground area between the east and westbound lanes. They take care of cars. They take care of my cars. And because we're keeping our cars longer, we got to keep them maintained. You know, if you take care of your car is going to take care of you. My stepdad drilled that into my head when I was a kid, and I've said the same thing to my kids. If you take care of your car, it will take care of you. And the first step to that is get an appointment at Christian Brothers Automotive at 816-675-4587. All the maintenance things that you need to get done. Get the oil changed, check the tires, check the spark plugs. If I go too much deeper, I don't know what in the hell I'm talking about with a car. But the good news is Christian Brothers does. And if they make a repair on your car, you're going to leave with a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty, whichever benefits you the most. Once you take your car to Christian Brothers on 40 Highway, you won't take it anywhere else because you're treated so well there. 816-675-4587. Michael Schroer, he keeps winning awards. I keep putting stuff up on the podcast page for Facebook with all these great awards he has. He's always selling properties. He is the guy who, if you're ready to move, right, for whatever reason, either you're coming out of your first apartment into, your first home, maybe you've got some kids that you've had along the way here and you're growing that home, you need more bedrooms. Maybe those kids have gone off to college or whatever, and you're becoming an empty nester. You need a smaller house. Maybe you got a piece of land you want to build on. Michael Schroer is the key to all of that. He is with Remax Elite in Lee's Summit, and if you're in the market, got to sell your house, he can take care of that too. One-stop shopping with Michael Schroer. Reach him at 816-373-8400. His cell phone is 816-520-9342. Michael Schroer 56 at gmail.com. Schroer is spelled Schroer. So there you go. Go buy a house, go sell a house, get that economy going, because that's important stuff going on here. So Tuesday night, because the elections primarily were in blue districts, it was a big night for the Democrats. Make no mistake about that. And honestly, the New York mayor's race came down to an old school Democrat versus, a young...
A Muslim communist?
Socialist communist, whatever the case may be. So Mamdani won, and he got more than 50% of the vote. Some were saying that he wouldn't get 50% because Curtis Lewa was in the race, and he was going to split that deal. So he conned enough people to vote for him. He's slick, right?
Yeah, he's very social media savvy. He's young. He's attractive. He knows how to work.
And he's lying his ass off. He's already backing down. Have you seen some of the stuff he's backing down from? I didn't mean free grocery stores.
Right.
I meant low-cost grocery stores.
Right.
And if he picks up a newspaper from Kansas City from a few months ago, he's going to see that that's not going to work either. He does not support the police. I saw a story, and I can't confirm this. You'd have to go find it and confirm it, that he's already said that when Donald Trump comes to his hometown to visit his building, he's going to have less police protection, that he's going to cut that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that he is backing off some of his campaign promises already. And he came out, and I put this picture up. of him with his transition team, his all-female transition team.
Oh boy!
And I'm poking fun at that. And a guy jumps out and he says, "Oh, you're just being a misogynist." Well, here is his, and he led with that. It's not, this person is an expert at that. This person's an expert at that. He said, "This is my all-female transition team," right? So check it out. I mean, I think he's got every race checked up there. I don't know if any of them are gay. There need to be.
Are there any transgenders?
Well, that's the thing. Is there is a trans? I don't know.
Yeah.
The one on the far right. I mean,
not representative enough. Do better.
Could be. Who knows? But that's how it started. The new era in New York City. So, what do you think is going to happen in New York City with people who have money? Because he sold this, and the reason I think that more than 50% of the people in New York have voted for him is because prices are high. Make no mistake about that. You've been to New York. It's an expensive place to live.
Yeah,
it's tough to live there. So he goes out there and campaigns, and he says, "I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to give you this. All this free stuff," which apparently is not free after all. And the rich people are going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't take that deal?
It's like the old trope that all the millennials, like the millennial liberals and progressives, fall for every time.
Yeah.
And they say, "Well, I just care about empathy. And I just want people to have health care. I want people to have food. Does that make me a communist?" Well, I guess I'm a communist then. It's like, what are we even talking about? It's so dumb.
Yeah. So Mamdani in New York, already breaking some of his campaign promises. We're going to get to him in a little bit because I think Governor Hochul's going to put the brakes on him anyway. Then you got Virginia, which went Democrat. Winsome Sears was the lieutenant governor, who I just love her story. She didn't win. And when you want to call me a misogynist, in Virginia, I was supporting a black woman for governor of Virginia.
Very stunning and brave, Dale.
I know. A Marine, right, who has a tremendous backstory. And they went the other way. And Obama comes to Virginia, and he campaigns for the white woman. What's up with that?
Abigail Spanberger.
Yeah. Obama campaigned for her. What's up with that? Come on, Barack, aren't you down with the struggle? I was campaigning for Winsome Sears. Why weren't you? And New Jersey, of course, goes Democrat too. Nothing shocking there either. California passed the Prop 50, so they can do even more gerrymandering after they've said, "Oh, we don't believe in gerrymandering. It never happens." And you look at Illinois and you know that it's gerrymandered to the hilt. California can now squeeze out a few more Democrats. I'm telling you, I think Republicans are in trouble here in 2026 because prices are high and because Democrats are out there lying their ass off that if you elect them, they're going to make your life just perfect and the rich people are going to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's what.
And then what inevitably happens is they don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
The wherever they're living goes to crap, and then they move somewhere else. They blame, Trump or greedy billionaires or white supremacy or whatever the new thing is. They blame that, then they move to a new state, and then they ruin that state.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think what may happen, and if you do a little research on this, you'll see that the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ are already looking at moving to Dallas. They're already setting up infrastructure in Dallas because there are states in the South like Texas and Tennessee and Florida where there is no state income tax, and rich people are not stupid. The weather in New York sucks most of the time. It stinks there. It's too crowded. There's too many people. And if you have the means, it's much like Jackson County. I mean, if you have the means to get out of Kansas City, which is rife with crime and falling apart, wouldn't you move to the suburbs? Of course you would. If you're a millionaire and the guy who just won the mayor's race with more than 50% of the vote says, "I'm going to give you everything you want, and these rich people over here are going to pay for it," what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
Why can't they play chess? They play checkers all the time. It's like, whoa, jump, jump, jump. Well, chess is like 2 or 3 jumps ahead. And you got to think 2 or 3 jumps ahead. So that's what's going to happen. It's going to turn into a shithole. And then what? I'm sure that'll be Trump's fault.
Yeah. They'll blame Trump. They'll blame They'll probably blame all the businesses for leaving. It's not because of the policy that the businesses are leaving or because of the tax rate or the crime. Racist. It's just that they, you know, don't care about their employees, and that's why they're leaving, because they're greedy.
Well, you know, we've made a lot of fun of Pritzker's Illinois map, you know, that shows that one, I think it's the 13th congressional district that starts in East St. Louis and snakes its way across the state. Well, Pritzker had an even better map. He took my advice a few podcasts back. Remember, I had his advice for him that you got enough people in Chicago that you can snake a line all the way down to southern Illinois and turn that into a blue district as well. Well, he's tried to do that, and his own legislature's pushing back. They're like, this is ridiculous, you know? And if his own legislature's saying that, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
So back to New York. Kathy Hochul, I thought this was great. Now, because Mamdani is one, they got what they wanted in New York City, and now the grown-ups have to come in because he's like 34, right? Mm-hmm. Idealistic, communist.
Stupid 30-year-olds.
So now the grown-ups in the Democrat Party have to come in. I mean, you know, Schumer wouldn't even say he voted for him. He said, I'm just going to work with whoever wins. I'll work with the mayor of New York.
Yeah.
Did you vote for Mamdani? I'm going to work with whoever the mayor of New York is. So Hochul comes in, and she throws the caution flag. Play the video.
We know that Mamdani does want to tax the rich more, bring it up about 2%. He can't do that on his own. You've previously said that you wouldn't be raising taxes. Have you reconsidered that stance?
No, I would say one energetic rally does not get me to change my positions, I assure you. But I do hear people's voices. I process what everybody says, but I'm also have to balance governing this state and making sure that those people who are actually the reason we have a generous, supportive budget that helps lift people up, it's their revenues that we tax. 1.5% of New Yorkers cover about a third of our budget. That's enormous. I'm concerned about out-migration of people who are the ones who are supporting our budget. I cannot make up for that with middle-class tax increases. I cannot do that to the middle class and the struggling New Yorkers.
It's all a lie.
Oh, go ahead and play that. I stole this from Chicks on the Right.
She's literally saying, I'm not going to allow this to happen, but I'm going to get on stage with that snake oil salesman, and all of you idiots in the audience are just going to be like, yeah, this is going to happen.
Yeah. They're going to go to states where they don't have to deal with that commie bullshit. You think that they're not? You're out of your mind.
Yeah.
Support our show.
Yeah, we don't want to support your show. We did steal a clip from you, but
we're doing like reaction inception here. We're reacting to a video of them reacting to a video. And then someone's going to play this show.
Yeah.
And then they're going to react to us reacting to them reacting to the video.
How many mirrors were involved in that?
Just too many.
Okay. So affordability is the current buzzword. And it's true. I mean, you know, we're seeing it in Kansas City. Prices are going to have to come down. Donald Trump ran on prices coming down, and prices by and large are not coming down. Now, he keeps saying that the benefits of the big, beautiful bill are going to kick in 2026. Kurt, if they don't, the Democrats are going to win the House. I think the writing's on the wall.
Yeah.
And you know what will happen then? 2 years of impeachment.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They'll impeach him 17 more times. But, you know, I think we make a mistake of like trying to moderate or trying to, like I was saying before about how you act based on how people are going to react to it. It's like, don't do that. Just push through the agenda, do what you campaigned on and what got you elected.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to help you win the midterm and the next presidential election. Like, why would anyone vote in 2028 for J.D. Vance if his administration didn't implement the agenda that they said they were going to?
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree completely with you. I'm just looking at the reality of what's going on here, and you've got Democrats out there selling snake oil, like the young lady said there. And you kind of wonder, we should start a list and have odds on what the impeachment topics are going to be. You think the ballroom is going to be an impeachment?
Yeah. That's
thing?
a good guess, actually. That's a good one.
Did you see that Swalwell wants the next Democrat nominee to commit to tearing down the ballroom? That's going to be a litmus test for a Democrat for Swalwell. You got to tear down the building. Never mind that presidents for 100 years have been hoping for some bigger space where they could, host gatherings with foreign dignitaries and not have to pitch tents on the White House lawn. They're going to get this wonderful ballroom, and Swalwell would have you tear it down. So the next thing Democrats are going to have to side with is people running drugs into the country because Trump's on the other side of it. We always say that whatever Trump says, whatever he got up and whatever today's topic is, Democrats have to be opposed to it. So now it's going to be taking out drugs run into the country because Trump is just bombing the shit out of them. I got a little video there's no audio, that's unclassified, as it says, and you're going to see this boat, and all of a sudden it's not going to be there anymore. Boom. Did you see he's also moving a carrier task force into that part of the world?
I did see the interview about it, and it was kind of a classic Trump-like funny moment.
Yeah. I don't know. We've talked a lot about the tariffs that he's put on countries around the world. That is before the Supreme Court right now. And I heard some of the oral argument, and who's the tall guy that Trump appointed? Justice
Kavanaugh?
No, the other one. He appointed two guys and a gal, and I can't think. I'm spacing on the Gorsuch. Neil Gorsuch. Gorsuch was going after Trump's Solicitor General in a way that makes me think that they're going to overturn a lot of these tariffs. That they think he is stretched too far, and they just don't think it's constitutional. That presidents have, over the course of decades, done selective tariffs here and there, but Trump has tariffed everybody, and he's threatened it everywhere. And at some point, what Gorsuch is saying is Congress has a role here, and you can't just be a single dictator on whatever it is you want to do. So I have a feeling they're going to fast track this. I think a lot of those tariffs are going to go by the wayside.
We'll see.
We shall see.
Here's that clip of Trump talking about the carrier.
Why do we need an aircraft carrier and strike group?
It's got to be somewhere. It's a big one.
It leads to the suggestion that the United States military is planning a larger operation involving Venezuela. Why?
I just like that. It's got to be somewhere.
I don't know. I just, I'm more of I would like to think if it were me in the White House, that I would say, here's what I'm going to do, and then I'd just close the door and I'd go to work and I'd get it done. And maybe do a press conference once a quarter. I certainly wouldn't want to be on TV every day.
Yeah.
And
if only it were that simple, Dale.
If only it were. Yeah. So like I said, you can't agree with somebody 100% of the time. I like a lot of what he's doing. He's doing what I voted for him to do, which is expelling illegals. And the Democrats all of a sudden think that's terrible. Well, that's what 77 million people voted for, right? It's not like he did a bait and switch on us. It's like, oh, I got here. It's too big of a job. I'm not going to do it. He's doing it.
I mean, he's kind of doing it. He's not doing it that much. He's doing it less than Obama did. We've talked about that. So he's not like, the numbers aren't even close to what came in under just Biden alone. So we're not reversing the trend. We're not changing anything, really. I mean, he's making a big show out of it. The ICE is coming in and making a big deal out of it, and doing the black bag thing or whatever. But they're not, as far as numbers go, it's not really that impressive.
Yeah, it's not. So get to work, Trump. You're letting us down here. Expel more, please. Yeah. All right. Royal Roofing and Solar. They bring you a part of this podcast. We appreciate them. Austin Watterson. He put up a picture on his personal Facebook page today that I thought was really interesting. I don't know if you can get there quickly, but it showed like a chimney and how another roofing company got everything sealed up next to the chimney. And it just looks terrible. You really got to, there it is. You got to find some, does that look like that's going to hold out rainwater at all?
Not quite.
Austin said it would be better if they put a brick up next to it to help seal it up to that fireplace.
Yeah.
or the chimney rather. So you want somebody who's a pro up on your roof because your roof is what's keeping the rain out, the snow out as we get into winter here before long. And insurance companies are charging higher premiums on older roofs, and homeowners like you are getting their insurance dropped because of the age of the roof. Never mind the fact if you got a shake shingle roof. I had one of those. And Bob Watson, my insurance company, said, we better hope State Farm doesn't find out about that. You might just get canceled. Well, statute of limitations. Austin's put a new roof on my house. I'm good. And you'll be good with your insurance company. And sometimes what you'll find is that, let's say you finance the roof. The payment that you're paying on that roof might be offset by a lower insurance rate. Insurance companies working with Austin to make sure that that is a distinct possibility. It starts with a phone call, 816-540-7057. Get Austin and his team up on your roof and then take that conversation from there. You'll find out everything you need to know on the web at roofedbyroyal.com. Royal Roofing and Solar. Funhouse Pizza, of course, 2 locations, Blue Springs, where we were for the kickoff of my campaign, and Lee's Summit, where we've done many of our fun little get-togethers we've had, and we'll be back there again before you know it. It's a great place to gather with your friends and family for a team meeting, a birthday party, anniversary party. Kids love playing on all the video games and everything else that's so fun at Funhouse. You will love the pizza. Piled high toppings, cold drinks. You can order your pizza and have it delivered or pick it up and take it out or eat it there. 50 Highway in Lee's Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs, Funhouse Pizza, and our good pal, Jim Dingman, longtime friend of this program. In fact, he was our first sponsor.
Yep.
And Bob was second. Where it goes from there, I don't remember, but you always remember your first, and sometimes you remember your second, and I do. So there you go.
I'm leaving that one alone.
I put the ball on the tee for you. As of today's taping, the shutdown continues. It's now the longest in U.S. history. And what I get from the other side is, boy, this Trump guy, he's a big negotiator, wrote the art of the deal. How come he can't get in there and negotiate this thing? And my reply is, negotiate what? What would you like Donald Trump to negotiate? Because at the crux of this thing is Obamacare. And that's the lie that Democrats sold. That's at the crux of this entire thing. It's just like when Mamdani goes out there and lies his ass off and gets 50+% of the vote in New York City, and now he's going to backpedal all this stuff. Obama actually got this thing passed. He got it passed with no Republican votes. No Republican in the Senate or the House has ever voted to be a part of this. So what's the problem? What's the issue? Democrats put in emergency COVID subsidies, right? When COVID was going on, they said, oh, this Obamacare thing, we got to help these people. We got to get more money going their way to make this thing solvent. So they put in what they called emergency COVID subsidies, and they sunset it. They didn't have to do that. They did that. They chose that. And they picked the end of 2025 as their sunset. So the end of 2025 is coming up. They don't have a majority in the House, they don't have a majority in the Senate, and they don't have the presidency. What do they have? They've got enough votes to shut down the United States Senate. And that's exactly what they did. Okay? Open enrollment for Obamacare is going on right now. These are some math things. I want to go slowly through this. With the subsidies, right, that aren't there now, the $1.5 trillion the Democrats are holding this country hostage over. With the subsidies, the costs will rise an average of 26% with the subsidies. You pull those out, it goes up on average 114%. This was never going to work. They made this mess, and they are using the only leverage that they've got, and that is shutting down the government with the filibuster. So I ask you, what is there to negotiate? What is Donald Trump going to negotiate? There isn't anything, right? Because Republicans don't believe in Obamacare. They don't believe that health care is something the federal government ought to be involved in. I talk about this all the time, that there are probably 5 things that the government does well that is a core competency, and healthcare is not one of them. All they have managed to do is drive up costs and drive down efficiency. And then they complain about it. It's like, well, healthcare's a right. Everybody ought to have healthcare. We had a pretty damn good healthcare system in this country before they started screwing around with it. Wasn't perfect, Maybe there were problems with it. There were Republican ideas out there that Democrats didn't like opening up competition between states. That would have driven down rates. Competition is always good. It's something that we do in the private sector. Competition sharpens the saw and makes you better. What makes you worse is a government takeover. And we're seeing exactly that. Speaker Mike Johnson, he shared a couple of videos on X. I really like his calm demeanor and how he's running things. The first is from the great Barack Obama, the father of Obamacare. Barack Obama commenting on doing exactly what Senate Democrats are doing right now, and that is shutting the government down.
You don't like a particular policy or a particular president? Then argue for your position. Go out there and win an election. Are some of these folks really so beholden to one extreme wing of their party that they're willing to tank the entire economy just because they can't get their way on this issue? Are they really willing to hurt people just to score political points? Republicans in Congress chose to shut down the federal government. Let me be more specific. One faction of one party in one house of Congress, in one branch of government, shut down major parts of the government, all because they didn't like one law.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's put the shoe on the other foot, because it's exactly what's happening now. A small faction of Democrats in the United States Senate have shut down a portion of the government. It's the longest running one we've ever had, because they think we should spend $1.5 trillion that we don't have. Remember, we're cruising toward $40 trillion in debt. We don't have this $1.5 trillion. So just tack it on to the debt or whatever, to make Obamacare a little less painful, because it's already going to be painful. Rates are going to go up an average, what I say, 26%. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a pretty substantial increase, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah. And people forget, that clip reminds me too that people remember Obama as like a statesman and like calm and collected and a great speaker and all these things, but he was like a bully. You remember? I mean, it brings you back to the Obama years when he was like up there. I mean, he did it with a friendly face and a smile, but he was bullying people like left and right.
When he lost Congress, which a lot of them do in that first midterm, I got a phone, I got a pen.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I got a phone and I got a pen.
Yep. It's going to write all these executive orders. And then Donald Trump, this is why executive orders are bullshit, because he writes all these executive orders. Trump comes in, he tears them all up, writes his own. Biden comes in, tears them all up, writes his own, and then Trump comes back and he does it in bigger style. Remember that when he was at like the hockey arena or something in DC, and they had all these bands going. He was on stage, and he had this guy going, and in this executive order, you're doing this.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All right. So Speaker Johnson was not done. Also shared this C-SPAN video that features an Oregon member of Congress who shows just how clueless some of them are. Now, C-SPAN is not MSNBC or Fox News, right? I don't think they have an agenda. Mm-hmm. It's very vanilla. Do you ever watch C-SPAN?
I used to back in the day, but not so much anymore.
Yeah. This call's coming on the Republican line. Yeah. This call's coming on the Democrat line. So anyway, they had this member of Congress on, and all she was doing was asking the next logical follow-up questions. And you're going to see what an elected member of Congress, how she deals with this.
Capitol Hill is Janelle Bynum, who is a Democrat from Oregon, represents the 5th district there. Congresswoman, let's begin with SNAP benefits. Funding runs out on Saturday. Should Democrats pass a standalone bill to fund SNAP benefits?
Good morning. Well, let's be clear. Republicans run the House, they run the Senate, they have the White House, they have the control to make sure that Americans get what they need. And I'm here standing up to make sure that we put forth front and center the American needs, so no child goes hungry.
Is that a yes, then, that there should be a vote on the standalone legislation?
I'm here. My Republican colleagues are on vacation. We want to make sure that we stand up for American people. Speaker Johnson has the right and the control of the House so that we can have a vote. That's not in my control.
If he did, would you vote yes?
Put a bill on the table and we can look at it.
We talked earlier to Congressman Tim Burchett, Republican of Tennessee. He was on the program, and he made the argument that Democrats in previous situations avoided government shutdowns by voting 13 times for so-called clean continuing resolutions that would fund the government at the previous year's funding levels. Why not agree now?
Well, look, I just got here. I don't play politics. I want a clean bill that focuses on the American people, that makes sure kids have a full belly. And, you know, all of the clean this, clean that. Americans don't understand that. They know if they have their benefits or not. So put a bill on the table, make sure it's very pure and clean, as they like to say, and it doesn't have a whole lot of fluff in it. I'm not here for games. I just want to make sure kids get fed.
They did have a clean CR vote on September 19th in the House. Did you vote for it?
I disagree with your characterization and want to make sure that we're very clear about what Republicans have been doing. Any bill that they've put forth, they've always had some extra stuff to it. There's always been a poison pill to it. So I disagree with your characterization.
What were the poison pills of the clean CR or the continuing resolution? You say it's not clean, that was voted on in the House in mid-September.
Here's what's important. I think what you're trying to do is shift the responsibility to Democrats. Speaker Johnson controls the House.
Nothing is ever their responsibility. No. It's like it's the attitude of like a small child that wants a bike, and they just are not. It's like, well, if you do your chores, you can get the bike. If you do your chores, you can get the bike. It's like, well, why should I have? But you're the one that has the money for the bike. Why can't I just get the bike?
I think it's so funny. But C-SPAN is so vanilla. What was the poison pill? And she had a deer in the headlights look. Okay, it's time to pivot. Yeah. Here's what's important.
Well, honestly, that's the best way to approach these people, I think, in a lot of ways. You stay calm. You just ask the question.
Yeah.
It's like the Jesse Lee Peterson approach. I don't know if you know who that is.
I don't.
He does the same thing where it's like he'll just ask the same question over and over and over again, and they'll refuse to answer. And it's like, what was the poison pill? Ba, 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 ba. Okay, what was the poison pill? Ba, 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 ba. I'm here to save children. Okay, what was the poison pill? And just keep asking. Stay calm. Don't get upset. Don't yell. Just keep asking the same question. Let them make a fool of themselves.
Well, the question that I would have is, why are 43 million Americans on SNAP? That's like 1 out of 7 if you do the math.
Yeah.
1 out of 7 people in this country. That's a problem. And they're characterizing SNAP as like kids are going to like starve to death if they don't have it. SNAP is an acronym for the it's the
what is it an acronym for, Dale?
Yeah, I
what
know.
Is it?
What's really important here, it's supplemental. It's the supplemental nutritional program. Okay, supplemental means
supplemental nutrition assistance program.
In addition to, right? Mm-hmm. And they are telling us that if kids don't get their SNAP benefits, they're all going to starve to death. The private sector does step up in times like this. Local businesses like Hy-Vee here locally in the Kansas City area, they are stepping up to fill the void. You know, I put up a picture from my own shopping basket. We drove through, or we went into Hy-Vee for our regular shopping, and they had like $10 bags made up with food in them. And it's like, scan this for $10. We'll give it to a food bank. That's easy, and that makes a lot of sense. I know this week they did $3 meals for families, and kids 12 and under ate free. Those are the things that local businesses can do, local charities can do to step up. Democrats, on the other hand, they've created this culture of dependency. It's at the heart of the Democrat platform. Their goal, their wet dream, is at the end of the day, all 340 million of us in this country to be dependent upon them.
Yeah, they want us all on SNAP instead of.
And then what happens when you're on a program like this? They can have a fit in the Senate. They could have the filibuster going, and those benefits can be snatched right away from you.
Yeah,
if they give it to you, they can take it away.
It's the carrot and the stick.
Yeah.
It's the carrot and the stick.
Yeah.
I wanted to play this clip too. I want to see what you think about this. This was going viral.
The first thing I did was grab my phone and call, and when I heard $0, my chest went into my throat.
Maggie Aragon has been a SNAP recipient for more than 3 decades. Even with these benefits, she says she also relies on food banks to get enough food.
I have depended on those benefits since the 1990s, and it's detrimental to my life if I don't get them.
There are more than 460,000 New Mexicans using SNAP benefits. Tonight, some of them telling us they don't have those right now. Friday, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham announced $30 million in state funds would be used to supply SNAP users starting November 1st.
What do you think of that?
I think 30 years is a long time to be on a program like that unless you are disabled. Yeah. And maybe she is disabled. You know, if you are disabled, we ought to have a safety net in this country that takes care of people who cannot work. I don't think there are 43 million Americans who cannot work. Now, there's kids involved in that too.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think there are people in there who ought to get off their ass and get a job.
I agree. And it's not compassionate. This is the mistake that like people make on the left, I think, is they think it's compassionate to just provide for people, just to give people free stuff. That's not compassionate. You're actually damaging them in a real sense because you're taking away their agency. You're taking away their ability to suffer and overcome in order to provide for themselves and provide for their family. That's the human experience. That's what we all have to do. Whether you're an American or a Guatemalan or a Russian or Chinese or whatever, that's universal. So how is it compassionate for somebody to be relying on government benefits for 30 years? That's insane. That's insane. And how can we not all agree on that? Like, that just boggles my mind.
I agree.
Like, these people need to be helped in the way that they need to be helped to get on their feet and provide for themselves. That's the goal. And it's not the goal anymore, like you mentioned.
God willing, thank God, I've been very blessed in my life, and I've never had to take any kind of government assistance. If I needed it, I mean, I paid into the unemployment system for almost 50 years, right? Mm-hmm. So if I needed it, I would get it. And I remember in 1984, when I got fired the first time in radio, I'd been married for a year and a half to my first wife. We didn't have any kids yet. And it was like, man, if I can't find another radio job, and I'm out there getting applications at convenience stores and whatever, because I've been born with this work ethic that I'm compelled to work.
Right.
I want to work.
Right.
And there used to be a thing in this country called the shame factor. If you had to go do that, the government is there to help you. Yes, there's a safety net, but where's the shame? I don't think there's shame anymore.
100%. And here's another thing that people don't want to say. Maybe some people do, but go next time, because it does happen. Next time you're at the grocery store and you notice, you're not looking for it, but you notice that somebody is paying with SNAP or government benefits or EBT or whatever. Look at what they're buying. Look at what they're buying. Are they buying produce, meat, dairy? Or are they buying crackers,
noticed. What are they buying?
Cheetos, cereal.
In the old days,
processed foods.
Before they cracked down on it, people were buying cigarettes and booze with it, but they did crack down on that.
Yeah.
But to your point, they're not buying those core things that you need.
Yeah. And that in itself, it's like, it just shows that people aren't being held accountable. They're not being held responsible for their own well-being. At the end of the day, regardless if you need help, which we should provide or not, you're responsible for your own well-being. You're responsible for your family. Again, that's a universal part of the human condition. And so is suffering. Suffering is a universal part. We go through phases. You have ups, you have downs. It happens, and we should be praying for these people. We should be helping them however we can. But what we should not be doing is just providing them with a blank check that they can just ride off of the coattails of everyone else and never have to do anything for themselves. It's not good for them. It's not good for us. It's not good for society.
Amen to everything he just said there. So I do agree with you sometimes, right? So today's Democrats, they descend from what I call the FDR model. We've talked about this a little bit before on the podcast. An activist federal government that gets into every facet of our lives. Now, read a little history here. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president when the Depression happened, and he used the Depression to grow government exponentially. Before FDR, we did not have a federal government that was into every phase of your life. It grew out of the Depression. He used the Depression, which was an anomaly in our economy. To your point about suffering, it was suffering back in the 1930s. We would have gotten through it. We would have found a footing, and we would have grown out of it using the private sector. It would have happened, and he didn't let it happen. Government stepped in. When the Supreme Court tried to stop him, telling him that everything he was doing was unconstitutional. Can you imagine if Donald Trump was FDR? Because what FDR did was he packed the court. They went from like 9 to 12. And Congress finally stepped in and said, no, you can't do that. They didn't impeach FDR. They built statues to FDR, right?
Yeah.
He's a hero.
History has been kind to him, for sure.
Yeah. He's a hero to today's Democrats, and they continue to come up with more and more government programs to allegedly help. I almost did a Hakeem Jeffries thing there. I'm like, more and more. I'm like, using my hands to make boxes is what he does. But programs to allegedly help. But in point of fact, what they do is they enslave people. You are enslaved to government benefits, and you can't get off of them. You're like that poor woman in the clip you played. I've been on this for 30 years. They take it away. I'm going to die. We should never be like that, right?
Yep.
Areas that they have no business being in. The core competencies of a federal government ought to be this, and maybe this. But no, they're into everything, right?
I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but you made a really interesting point there. You used the term enslaved. They're enslaved to government benefits.
They are.
And it's like, what is the actual core meaning of that word? If you think about it, in a sense, it's like agency. If you lose your agency as a human being, that's like enslavement, right? So if you can't make your own decision, if you're controlled by something else, that's enslavement.
Fair point.
And you're not. Your agency, you're totally dependent on this other thing for survival. I mean, aren't you embarrassed?
I think shame has to enter this at some point too. You know, and free will is something that Americans, it's in our DNA. Free will is in our DNA. And that's another thing Democrats love to take away from you is your free will. You know, you have to drive this kind of car. You can only cook on this kind of a stove. You can only heat your water this way. There's so much into the mandate, right? And you know, we're a free people. It's just in our DNA. And then, of course, you know, when they set all this stuff up, they set all these dominoes up. Now you're enslaved to your government benefits. And then they don't like the way things are going. Republicans aren't going to give them another $1.5 trillion. So they shut the government down and you don't get any of it.
Yeah.
And they're hoping that they want the pain there. They want the pain to be so extreme that you are dialing on your phone that I'm not sure how you're paying for because you can't pay for food, but you've got a damn phone and it's a smartphone and it's one of the best. It's an iPhone. You know, they want you to call your senator, call your congressman and say, I want my benefits. I got to have my benefits. And, you know,
and because they control you, because you have lost your agency to them, when the time comes and you lose those benefits, you'll get mad at whoever they tell you to get mad at, right? Because they already control you.
Yeah, that's the way it is going for sure. So what the government gives, the government can take away. So if you take nothing else away from today's podcast, take that away. What the government gives you, it can, and we're seeing will take away from you. Stand up on your own 2 feet. You have responsibility to your family. We talk about that a lot. And that's where Clay Como Shooters comes in, right? They're on 69 Highway in Clay Como, a full-service firearms dealer, including buying guns, because you got to protect your family. If you're the man of the house, I hate to be misogynist about this. Maybe there are single women out there. You need to protect your family too. Get to Clay Como Shooters. Let them train you on the right firearm that is going to protect your family. I'm not talking about going back to the wild, wild west, but somebody breaks into your house, you need to have a plan because calling 911 is not going to be instantaneous. We don't live in the Star Trek age. They're not going to beam police officers to your house. There is going to be some delay to them getting there. What are you going to do in the meanwhile? That's what Clay Como Shooters is all about. Indoor shooting range. They have affordable pricing, not a big box store, a neighborhood business looking out for the community. Protect yourself and your family. find the right firearm and get trained on it. You can reach them at 816-452-4867. Call Herb. He's the general manager there. He trained us. We were out on the range together, and we didn't shoot each other. So apparently he did a really good job. So reach out to Clay Como Shooters and get that going to protect your family. Take responsibility for your own family. Something else you got to take responsibility for is Medicare. And before somebody says I'm doing double talk there because I'm talking about a government program, that is something that all of us who've been in the workforce have paid into. Just like Social Security. That is our insurance plan for when we get older. It is run by the government, and it's probably not perfect. In fact, I know it's not perfect, but we've paid for it. We have a right to it if we're 65 or older. And this is the Medicare annual enrollment period. I know Kirk Doris is so busy right now, but he's not busy enough that he won't take your phone call because the changes to Medicare mean that you've really got to pay attention to this. Medicare annual enrollment is going on through December 7th. So we're almost through it. You got to get that finalized. You got to get it locked down. So if you're turning 65, that's one thing. You got to get on Medicare, and Kirk's a guy who can walk you through all the traps to avoid all the problems that will come up. What supplemental plan, what part, there's just so much to Medicare. You need a pro like Kirk Doris on your side. If you've been on it for many years, you know that every year they have the annual enrollment period, and changes are coming with the big, beautiful bill. And you have until December 7th to figure it out. Kirk Doris, MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. That's his website. His office number is 816-701-6661. Get Kirk and his team on your side so you make the right decisions moving forward about Medicare. That is something very important to the 65 and older crowd. Okay, climate change. I threw this in here because did you see this? That Bill Gates came out and he said that climate change is not an existential threat. That we're not
haven't seen that.
We're not going to die from climate change.
I think he's moved on to vaccinating all of Africa with gene technology.
Yeah. Well, whatever. He's off climate change now. And there were so many people that said we were all going to die. I found this video. It's a little long, but I think we should share it. John Stossel, who has been like a consumer reporter over the years. I think originally he was on Good Morning America, like decades ago. Do you know who John Stossel is?
I'm loosely familiar with him, but I don't know anything about him.
This is a great clip that is going to weave in the climate change / global warming crowd that said we were all going to die if we did not follow government dictates on what we drive, how we heat our water, all this stuff, that we're killing the planet. And it weaves it in with people who know what they're talking about. And it's really interesting.
This environmental catastrophe bearing down on us.
I keep hearing that we're killing the earth.
How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood.
But wait, I've been a consumer reporter for years. I've covered so many scares. Plague, famine, and perpetual war will kill us. We're going to run out of oil. Nuclear power will give us cancer. Killer bees swarm ever closer. Bird flu, flesh-eating bacteria. The list of terrible things that were going to get us is long. And yet we're living longer than ever. None of those scares turned out to be as frightening as the warnings. But I'm told global warming is different.
Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction.
The alarmists have evidence that supports their fears. Temperature is rising. The UN predicts that it'll rise another 2 to 5 degrees.
What do we do when the land we live on is under attack?
But does that justify the fear?
Climate change is not a lie, so please don't let our planet die.
Does it justify this claim?
We have 12 years to act.
We have 12 years.
We have 12 years before the effects are irreversible.
Really? 12 years?
It's warmed up around 1 degree Celsius since 1900, and life expectancy doubled the industrialized democracies. And yet that temperature ticks up another half a degree and the entire system crashes. That's the most absurd belief.
I recently moderated this debate on climate change at the Heartland Institute. Well, not a debate because the alarmists who were invited didn't show. Heartland invited many.
Please come over here and sit next to that place and let's have a discussion. There are a lot more people who want to hear what you have to say.
Climate alarmists never agree to debate. We'd love to offer you the airtime. We will give it to you. I'll give you a special phone number that goes to this phone. I invited Al Gore on my show often, but he would never come.
In order to solve the climate crisis,
he makes a lot of speeches, but won't respond to people who disagree. It's too bad that the alarmists won't debate, because so much of what they say deserves debate.
The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change.
12 years.
Well, and in 12 years, it'll be 12 more years.
David Legates is a professor of climatology at the University of Delaware. Pat Michaels is former president of the American Association of State Climatologists. Willie Soon is an astrophysicist.
It's all about arm waving, it's about emotion, about sending out kids in protest. We have nothing to do with the science.
This group pointed out that even if the planet warms by 5 degrees, humans can adjust. People in Holland did years ago.
They said, we're going to adapt to the fact that we're a low-lying country and we're going to build these dikes and we're going to build these pumps. Are you telling me that the people in Miami are so dumb that they're just going to sit there and drown?
You acknowledge, though, the water is rising.
Yes, water has been rising for approximately 20,000 years and probably will continue.
But we can adapt, like Holland has. Except the alarmists say hurricanes and other storms are getting worse.
It's getting stronger and stronger. The winds are getting harder and harder.
No, they aren't. You can take a look at all the hurricanes that around the planet. We can see them since 1970 because we got global satellite coverage. Right. And we can measure their power and we can add up their power. And there is no significant increase whatsoever. There is no relationship between hurricane activity and the surface temperature of the planet.
The claim that hurricanes are getting worse and the 12-year deadline were 2 of 4 myths I heard the Heartland panel convincingly debunk. Myth number 3 was that government action today will save us.
We have to act now.
The Obama administration's model projects that the amount of global warming that would be saved for going to zero emissions tomorrow, you don't know how to do that, put you back in the Stone Age, but let's just say we did it, would be 0.14 of a degree Celsius.
So no real effect on the climate, but
you'll sure have an impoverished, dark country, won't you?
Myth number 4, the idea that carbon dioxide is carbon pollution that just does harm and threatens the food supply.
There are places on Earth where it is just greening up like crazy.
So if you're really concerned about the plants, more carbon dioxide makes them not just grow faster, but also makes them more water efficient.
Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, but it also helps feed the world.
A lot of people pretend to know about climate, pretend to have studied it, pretend to come up with these answers, and then make these proclamations to scare you so that you'll do what we want you to do.
But if what the alarmists say is not true, why would the International Panel on Climate Change, the United Nations, go along with the exaggerations?
Governments like control. Most governments want to keep control, and most governments get bigger and bigger over time.
IPCC does stand for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change.
Carbon dioxide becomes that molecule by which we can take control of your lives, of your efforts, and everything that goes on.
Are they right? It's confusing when there are so many serious people who are so worried. I wish there were a real debate. Why won't the other side debate?
So this is where I insert, I told you so.
Yep.
Yeah. Because even if they were right, even if the Al Gore crowd were right, we got to adapt or die, right? And these scientists here just showed you that not only is it not that big a deal, but we could adapt and we would adapt, and countries have adapted over the years. And I love the line I love the best out of that was Miami. Do you think the people in Miami are so stupid if the water came up, they would just stand there and drown?
Yeah, that was funny.
Maybe there are. I don't know. All right, so there you go.
Here's I thought the Bill Gates clip was in there. Is this the clip? We'll see.
Climate is a super important problem. There's enough innovation here to avoid super bad outcomes. We won't achieve our best goal, the 1.5 or even the 2 degrees. And as we go about trying to minimize that, we have to frame it in terms of overall human welfare, not just everything should be solely for climate.
When the climate activists who have been very supportive of what you've done and you've been very supportive of what they've done read this, and if Greta Thunberg is reading this and saying to herself, my goodness, he seems like he is reversing himself, what would you tell her?
I'd say, wasn't the goal here to improve human lives? And shouldn't we, in our awareness of how little generosity there is to help, measure, should we get them a measles vaccine or should we do some climate related activity?
Always comes back to that, right?
If we stop funding all vaccines and that, saved you 0.1 degree, would that be a smart trade-off? That's the kind of question we have to ask. So I'm a climate activist, but I'm also a child survival activist. If you think climate...
He makes more money on vaccines than he does on climate change. He's focused on vaccine development, and he's focused on buying all the farmland. Those are his new things. He doesn't have time for this climate change stuff
Maybe
anymore.
Greta Thunberg would come on our podcast and she would tell us.
That would be great.
Wouldn't that be great?
I would be very, very nice to her.
Work on that.
Yes.
Bob Watson is our State Farm agent, my State Farm agent, and I'll share him with you. He's been helping my family with insurance needs for over 30 years. He has been with State Farm over 50 years, gold standard of State Farm.
I'd say congratulations.
You could reach him for a rate quote at 816-229-7878, auto, home, life, commercial insurance. If it's important enough to you to insure, you need a good neighbor on your side. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Bundle your home and car insurance. You'll save even more with Bob Watson and his tremendous staff at 816-229-7878. I thought we would leave you with Glamour Magazine's UK version of the Women of the Year. They didn't do this in this country. They did it over in England. I guess it's better over there, right? There they are, the Women of the Year for Glamour Magazine UK version. Those are all biological men, but they have been called the dolls over in the UK, the Women of the Year. J.K., is it Rowling or Rowling? I don't know.
Rowling, I think.
J.K. Rowling. She calls out the British women's magazine Glamour for awarding 9 trans men the Women of the Year award. She says, I grew up in an era when mainstream women's magazines told girls they needed to be thinner and prettier. Now mainstream women's magazines tell girls that men are better women than they are.
That's what I've been saying this whole time. Men are better at everything, including being women.
I think I'd be a homely woman.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to do that.
So while you imagine me as a woman or Kurt as a woman,
don't do that.
Please come back next week for another edition of Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to DaleCartersAmerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.